At this time, I would like to introduce a freshman, but she has truly hit the ground running. She's instilled fear in Democrats on the other side of the aisle because she stands 7 feet tall and unapologetically carries that Constitution with her every single day in her heart, in her spirit, in her voice. Our colleague, Lauren Boebert from Colorado.
Thank you very much, Mr. Governor. And I want to thank my friend and colleague, Ms. Tinney, for leading on this issue. And I want to thank Whip Scalise, who has always been a fierce fighter of the Second Amendment and unfortunately even took one for the team here in Washington, D.C. This was something that sparked my interest when I first arrived here. And I started looking at the shootings that had taken place here on these grounds and even nearby with my now colleagues. This was something that I wanted to be sure we all had a right to protect ourselves against. And as my colleague, Mr. Lee Zeldin, had mentioned, maybe I've struck some fear in the Democrats, but their way of handling that is to install metal detectors. You know, on January 6th, I wasn't wishing for more metal detectors here at the Capitol. I was pretty pissed off that I was stripped of my Second Amendment right as an American citizen not to be able to personally defend myself. This right to keep and bear arms is not a second-tier right. This is not a privilege or a benefit. This is a right. And Democrats need to keep their dirty, filthy, corrupt, greedy hands off of our rights. Our founding fathers so beautifully crafted the Constitution and the Bill of Rights because they didn't want to reimpose tyranny upon themselves. They had just fought and won a war to make sure that they were free from a tyrannical, overreaching government. And they listed details to ensure that freedom. When they created government here in America, when they started lining that out, what government would look like, they said government is instituted by the people. We, the people, install government to secure our rights. Unfortunately, government has now grown to the point where they think that they're only here to keep us safe and limit us from those rights that we have, those self-evident rights. And they think that they are the ones who can only explain them to us. No, they are self-evident. We don't need politicians to describe those rights to us. We need them to secure our rights. And now we all know that Democrats hate this right to keep and bear arms. And we know that they know it says it shall not be infringed. It is a pillar of the left's platform to attack and dismantle this constitutional right. Literally, Democrats' argument before the Supreme Court is that the Second Amendment only applies to one's home. Really? Is that the best that they could come up with? That it only applies to your home? What other rights in our Constitution only apply to your home? The First Amendment? The third, the fourth, actually the third is the only one that mentions home, and Supreme Court kind of got that a little twisted, didn't they? They used it outside of the home. But no, this is really just a Joe Biden level argument. It's old, it's tired, it's laughable, and it's weak. There are just a couple of examples that I could go through today, but we have a lot of people out here that want to talk to you about the Second Amendment. But I have the honor of speaking with Dick Heller tonight. And he took a bold stand and won a landmark case for our Second Amendment rights. And it's because of Mr. Heller and his boldness that I currently have a Washington, D.C. concealed carry permit and have the right to protect myself here where crime is on the rise. Gun rights are for all races, for all creeds, for all genders, both of them. Gun rights do not discriminate and should not be narrowly applied. And gun rights certainly weren't intended to be restricted to one's home. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Second Amendment isn't a second-tier right. And if this right is not absolute, then all of our rights are at risk of being taken away. And now I would like to introduce my friend and colleague, Mr. Roger Williams. Thank you.